Wolves in the woods. What does that mean for us humans? Wolves trigger deep-seated fears in us. Being chased through a forest by predators, a nightmare. Frank André Soma is not afraid of wolves. On the contrary, he even speaks their language. And he has big plans. Winter in Norway. In the south of the country, a 3-hour drive from Oslo, there is Langedrag. The farm is something special, because here people and wild animals are living together as rarely seen anywhere. The moose Sverre accompanies her keeper Anna Greta on a winter walk. But it's not the moose who made the mountain farm famous.
Ow!
Langedrag is above all a name familiar to wolf lovers.
When I started with these wolves, they were 8 days old, and we got them from the other pack we have. And the first 6 weeks, they stayed in my sleeping bag. I bottle fed them, had to help them with everything, and that's how you make that contact. And I think it's really important that this contact is made that early. And today they respect me as one of the pack. When I come inside here, I can be myself. I can play with them. I can sleep here. Sometimes I do, mainly in the summer. It's cold now, but we have a really close relationship. When I'm outside the enclosure, skiing or fishing in the mountain, I can just make some sounds from the top here, and they start howling, and I can howl with them, and that's also a way to say that we love each other. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing to be as close to these wolves and to be a part of the pack.
In addition to the enclosure, holding the group of 3 hand-raised tame wolves, there is a second, huge enclosure in which wolves breed without human nursemaids and teachers. The wolves in this enclosure live in their natural pack, and that is important for the conservation work going on here. What is normal routine here would be thought completely impossible anywhere else. Almost every day, the wolfman takes visitors to these wild wolves. André knows many will change their attitude after 1 hour in the wolf enclosure.
Jeg var heldig, for jeg tok liksom mest av jakka da, ikke sant? Og så kom de andre ulvene, Ask og Vag og Ørgas, og hoppet på
The
henne.
wolfman explains that the predators react timidly, almost fearfully, to even the smallest movement of the human intruders.
Kan du prøve malamuten som er her oppe? Den slipper aldri.
The visitors are thrilled by the grace and beauty of the shy predators, who carefully come closer and closer to snatch a morsel of cheese André throws to them. But the hand-raised wolves, who are kept strictly separate from the wild ones, also serve the cause. Tuva, Langedrag's manager and daughter of the park's founder, speaks to the predators and explains the language of wolves to students. Tuva is the only person, aside from André, who has been accepted by the 3 tame wolf males and who can play with them. Visitors are never allowed to enter the enclosure because, having been raised on the bottle, these wolves have lost their natural fear of humans. They might attack people who are not part of their pack, just as they would attack an outsider of their own kind who encroaches on their territory. Wolves have always been Tuva's life. But not all people think like Tuva and André, not even in sparsely populated Norway. Is it reasonable to expect, let alone demand, that all people accept wolves? The dipper braves the Scandinavian winter and has therefore become a kind of national bird. It's easy to muster a majority for their protection, since nature conservation is a concern of most Norwegians. There's enough habitat for large and small animals in the Norwegian mountains, where the snow doesn't melt and spring doesn't arrive until May. Reindeer and their calves are now moving onto new pastures. Migratory birds are arriving, like the golden plover with its green-brown camouflage plumage. In the course of evolution, all kinds of animals have adapted to life in the mountain tundra. Lemmings have spent several months under a thick blanket of snow. Now grasses, mosses and herbs, their favorite food, are sprouting again. The mountain tundra is also home to animals that are long extinct elsewhere, such as the great snipe. During spring evenings, several males gather in the traditional lek sites and raise their voices in a peculiar courtship song. Since Langedrag is located in the middle of this mountainous wilderness, visitors can experience Norway's nature close up. Every day, classes of school kids or families set out on hiking tours, or it's off to a picnic in the surrounding mountains, accompanied by pack horses and goats. The mountain farm is a popular restaurant for an outing, a horse ranch and a zoo all in one, and offers an experience in nature for the entire family. In Norway too, there are many kids who live in the city far from nature. On a farm, they get a chance to come into direct contact with all kinds of domestic animals during their holidays. And the generous wilderness park offers them a chance to observe elusive wild animals, such as the lynx. But Langedrag's animal stars are the wolves. André enjoys being watched when he's playing with his much-loved wolves, Ask, Varg and Irgas. The baring of teeth is not a sign of aggression, but part of the vocabulary of the wolf's language. For Wolf and André, these are the happiest hours of the day. Langedrag is located in the middle of the Nordic mountain wilderness. But is nature really as wild as all that here? Although Norway is more than 2,000 kilometers long and less than 5 million people inhabit this immense country, there's hardly any predatory wildlife left here. Bears, too, have been hunted relentlessly throughout the ages. Though far more than 1,000 brown bears roam the neighboring countries of Sweden and Finland, it's all of 1 to 2 dozen in Norway. While bears will cross the forested borders again and again, sooner or later they're almost always shot. Don't the flesh and blood teddies have a right to live in the Norwegian woods? Isn't nature simply more complete and therefore more beautiful when there are bears around? Norway is a popular destination for nature lovers because of its diverse Nordic wildlife. Rare birds like the majestic great grey owl can be observed here. The owl, almost as big as an eagle owl, hunts lemmings and voles in the mountain forests. But those who want to observe bears or wolves are in the wrong place in Norway.
It's strange. These are humans' best friend, the dogs, and the wolf is our worst enemy. It seems like that in Norway today. There's not many places in the world that has so much space as Norway, with the wild nature, and it's perfect for the wolves and our predators who live here. So it should be possible for people and the wolves to live together. We are brought up with believing that the wolves are dangerous to us, from the fairy tales. We are scared of wolves. And even if the wolves are shy of people and you don't see them, when they're out in the forest, they run away if you should meet the wolf. And we take people inside to our wolves, and we try to show them the language, which is a lot similar to the dogs, and to make people understand these animals.
This is what makes André so angry. Everybody loves dogs, but there seems to be not enough room for wolves in his country, which after all is so big and thinly populated. André knows that even in Germany there are more wild wolves than in his native country. There are more than 50 in the Federal Republic, but all of a good dozen in Norway. Not so when it comes to moose. 200,000 of the huge hoofed animals live in Norway alone. Although the large number of moose is responsible for countless traffic accidents each year that injure and even kill people, the moose is seen as an important component of Nordic nature in Scandinavia. But if the Norwegian forests offer a sufficient habitat for thousands and thousands of moose, why not for a few hundred wolves? While the wolf is not as useful for people as the moose, which is the most important source of venison in Scandinavia. There still must be a reason why the wolf is hunted so relentlessly in Norway to this day. They were hunted, at least in the past, not only with guns and traps. In the past, people also used wolf lichen to kill predators. It gets its yellow color from the vulpinic acid it contains, which is a strong neurotoxin. The lichen was dried and grated and mixed with meat, which was then put out as bait in the forest, a reliable and cheap method to quietly get rid of unwanted carnivores. The pied flycatcher is not bothered by the toxic plant beneath its nesting tree. Again and again, André takes visitors to the wild wolves and patiently answers their questions. He never tires of putting in a word for his favorite animal and to explain the reasons for the relentless persecution of wolves to the visitors in Langedrag. Sheep farming has a long tradition in Scandinavia. But only in Norway are sheep released from their pens every spring and not herded back until autumn. All summer long, millions of sheep freely roam through Norway's wilderness. The domestic animals even graze inside national parks, such as Dovrefjell National Park, where they naturally encounter wildlife such as musk ox, who call this their home. Nature reserves are actually meant to provide a habitat only for wildlife, but here the wild grazers are joined by domestic sheep. While the encounter between sheep and musk ox is always a peaceful one, this is of course different in the case of sheep and wolves. Sheep are easy prey for predators, and the wolves' inherent job is to cull the weak animals. Understandably, sheep farmers on their part do not want to lose any of their animals. Healthy wild animals generally do not have to fear wolves, and wolves instinctively know that it's pointless to attack a fully grown moose, for example, let alone a human being. The wolf has instincts that tell him to look for weak animals, especially when he cannot find enough mice or other small animals. The solution to the conflict between wolves and sheep farmers is really quite obvious. In their long history of domestication, sheep have lost many of their natural instincts and can hardly defend themselves against natural enemies. Therefore, sheep belong behind fences. This is the case in most European countries. It's more difficult for wolves to get at them inside enclosures where they can be easily herded by sheepdogs. In Sweden, sheep are traditionally kept in paddocks. At the same time, there are several hundred wolves in the neighboring Scandinavian country. While the wolf may not only have friends there either, the coexistence of man and predator somehow seems to be working. Norway has countless clean rivers and lakes, providing ample opportunity for fishing and enjoying nature. Like many others, André also thinks that the experience of nature is a richer one where wolves still roam, even if you never get to see them. Wouldn't we all feel completely differently if we knew that a pack of wolves was living behind the riverbank we are sitting down at? Doesn't nature require a little more respect? A thought that gives André some hope, because the wolf is not the only animal that has been hunted to the brink of extinction. The sea eagle and golden eagle were long on the hit list too. Their numbers recovered thanks to rigorous protection measures. The eagle transformed from vermin to protégé. Today, people appreciate the fact that eagles circle the skies above them in their country, and children learn at school that the birds are protected. Evening in Langedrag. Most visitors have left for home. Not a sound of civilization to be heard anywhere. Not only many waterbirds, but also the wild animals in their enclosures perk up in the evening hours. The lynx observes how André, together with Anna Greta and her moose Sverre, set out for a last tour of the wildlife reserve. The moose was only a few weeks old when she was found in a forest, half-starved. Anna Greta raised her on the bottle. Now the huge animal follows her human adoptive parents everywhere. Polar foxes, raised here for projects that will reintroduce them to the wild, enjoy playing in the last rays of the sun. Sometimes Langedrag seems to be the most peaceful place on earth. As early as the end of August, the mountain tundra begins to change color with the first night frosts. All in all, it was a good year for the Norwegian wolves. While there are no more of them living in the wild than in previous years, 70,000 visitors have still learned a thing or two about wolves, thanks to Tuva and André. And some of them have gone home convinced that they have to do something for wolves. The more people open their hearts to wolves, the sooner public policies will be put into place that allow a comeback of the wolf in Norway. Everything depends on what value people place on a wild animal in their country. If eagles or wolves are seen as competitors and vermin, then their days are numbered. If they are seen as a valuable component in the fabric of their indigenous nature, then they have a chance, because a solution can be found for any conflict between wild animals and humans. André is convinced of this. Or do we really want the wild relatives of man's best friend to ultimately disappear from the face of the earth? In no time at all, autumn in the Norwegian mountains has turned to winter. Only a few visitors now stray into the mountain farm with its domestic and wild animals. André uses this time to work long hours with his wolves to consolidate the hierarchy in the pack. André is the alpha male in the pack, so to speak. When he feeds the wolves, none of the males would dare to snatch the morsel from his hand. Langedrag's philosophy is based on direct contact between wild animals and humans. Svea has followed her mistress to the community centre and is allowed to warm up in the parlour for a few hours. It's in these rooms that the moose spent the first months of her life.
Most people in Norway wants the wolf, but the conflicts and the media loves this fight between the farmers and the wolf lovers. So we need some constructive discussions and debate, and we need to make a change.
Even in winter, André is out every day for his wolves. He looks for wolf tracks in the snow of the endless forests surrounding Langedrag. One year, the wild pack's dominant female appeared here on her own, and first drew attention to herself through her paw prints. For several weeks, she stayed in the vicinity of the wolf enclosure. The official decision to shoot her had long been made when Langedrag got permission to capture the animal. She was then carefully integrated into the existing pack. On the way home, the wolfman takes a small detour. When André is playing with Ask, Wag and Irgas, he's happy. And the wolves seem to be happy too. But Tuva and André still hope that wild wolves can look forward to a happy future, not only in Norway.